Okay, so ready to dive into something pretty mind-blowing.
Always.
Imagine, like, the very cells in your brain, that are, like, designed to protect you.
Right.
Actually, like, turning against you.
Yeah.
And contributing to a disease like Alzheimer's.
It sounds crazy, like science fiction.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what researchers are finding with this new study on microglia.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So before we, like, get into the details of it all,
sure.
If you're, into this kind of deep dive into the mysteries of the brain,
yeah,
make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Yeah, definitely.
So you don't miss out on future conversations like this.
And leave a comment, tell us what you think about the research.
Yes, definitely.
As we go along, we love hearing from you.
All right. So we're talking about microglia, right?
Right.
I kind of remember from, like, biology class that they're like the brain's own little immune system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're these, tiny but mighty cells that are constantly patrolling your brain.
Oh, wow.
Cleaning up debris, fighting off infections, just,
Okay.
keeping things running smoothly.
So if they're like the good guys,
yeah,
how do they suddenly become a problem in Alzheimer's?
Well, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
This research is showing it's a more complicated picture.
Yeah.
It seems that, under certain conditions, these microglia can become toxic.
Toxic, like they start attacking healthy brain cells.
Well, it's not quite a direct attack.
Okay.
But essentially, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Researchers found what they're calling dark microglia in the brains of Alzheimer's patients.
Dark microglia.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of ominous.
It does, right?
Yeah.
So think of it this way. These are microglia that are just under immense stress.
Okay.
And the stress actually, like, changes them physically.
Really?
Making them appear darker under a microscope.
So you can actually see the difference.
You can. And what's concerning is these dark microglia were found in much higher numbers in Alzheimer's patients.
Oh, okay.
Compared to, healthy individuals.
So the more stressed out microglia you have, the worse the Alzheimer's.
That's what the evidence seems to be suggesting, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
But what's even more fascinating is, like, how this stress transforms them into these, destructive agents.
Okay, I'm hooked. So how does stress turn these, like, helpful microglia into tiny villains?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the culprit seems to be this specific pathway inside the microglia.
Okay.
Called the integrated stress response,
Oh,
or ISR.
ISR. So when the microglia gets stressed, this ISR thing kicks in.
Think of it like an alarm system.
Okay.
When the microglia sense, like, danger or stress,
Right.
the ISR alarm goes off.
Got it.
Triggering this cascade of events.
And this cascade leads to...
Well, basically, it turns the microglia into tiny factories.
Oh, wow.
That just churn out toxic lipids.
Hold on, lipids.
Yeah.
Aren't those just fats?
They are, but in this case, they become toxic.
Right.
Because they disrupt the balance within brain cells.
Okay.
And that, damages neurons and causes inflammation.
And this ultimately leads to...
Synapse loss.
Oh, okay.
Which is a real problem.
Okay.
Synapses are the connections between brain cells.
Right.
The communication hubs, imagine them like bridges connecting different parts of your brain.
Got it.
When these bridges start collapsing due to, damage from the toxic lipids, communication breaks down,
right,
leading to the cognitive decline that we see in Alzheimer's.
So it's like these microglia are having a bad day.
Yeah.
And decide to take it out on our brain cells.
That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
And the damage they cause can be devastating.
This is really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of things could be stressing out these microglia in the first place?
Right.
Like, could our lifestyle choices actually be influencing this process?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And
one that, researchers are actively investigating.
Right.
Think about it. What are some things that stress you out?
Well,
lack of sleep? Poor diet?
Yeah, for sure.
Constant exposure to toxins?
Right.
Could these same things be stressing out our microglia?
Whoa, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts on this, be sure to leave them in the comments.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're finding this conversation as mind-blowing as we are,
right,
don't forget to hit that like button.
It helps us keep these conversations going.
For sure.
Now, while this all sounds pretty dire,
right,
the good news is that understanding this process opens up new possibilities for treatment.
Really?
Yeah,
right.
That's right. The fact that we can actually pinpoint, this ISR pathway,
right,
and the toxic lipids it create, that gives us a target, for intervention.
So instead of just trying to, like, manage the symptoms of Alzheimer's,
Right.
we could potentially, like, stop the damage at the source.
Exactly. And the study found that when they blocked the ISR pathway, or the production of these toxic lipids in mice,
Okay.
they were actually able to reverse, Alzheimer's-like symptoms.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So there's, like, real hope
Yeah.
that we could translate these findings into, like, effective treatments for humans.
It's definitely a promising avenue.
Yeah.
Of course, there's still a long way to go from, like, mice studies to human clinical trials.
Yeah.
But, this research gives us a solid foundation to build on.
I can't even imagine what it would mean for families affected by Alzheimer's if we could actually, like, slow down or even reverse the progression of this disease. Like, it would be life-changing.
Absolutely. And not just for Alzheimer's.
Really?
This research could have implications for other neurodegenerative diseases as well.
How so?
Well, think about it. If cellular stress is a key driver of damage in Alzheimer's,
Right.
Could it be playing a similar role in, other conditions like Parkinson's or Huntington's disease?
Right.
It's a question that researchers are now exploring.
That's really interesting. It's
Yeah.
like this one discovery has opened up, like, a whole new world of possibilities for, like, understanding and treating these diseases.
Exactly. And what's particularly exciting is the potential for prevention.
Okay.
If we can identify the things that stress out our microglia,
Right.
whether it's, environmental toxins, poor diet, or chronic stress,
Right.
we might be able to develop, like, strategies to protect our brains before any damage even occurs.
You mean, like, lifestyle changes
Precisely.
that could actually, like, prevent Alzheimer's?
Yeah. Imagine being able to tell people, here are some simple things you can do
Right.
to keep your brain healthy and reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's.
Wow, that would be a game changer.
It would be.
Yeah.
And it would empower people to, like, take control of their own brain health.
When we first started talking about these, like, dark microglia,
Right.
it all sounded, pretty scary.
Yeah.
But now, knowing that there might be ways to prevent this damage
Right.
or even reverse it, it actually feels hopeful.
I agree.
Yeah.
This research has really shifted our perspective on Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
It's no longer just a mystery that we're powerless against.
Right.
We're starting to understand the mechanisms at play, and that knowledge, that gives us the power to intervene.
It really highlights the importance of, like, continued research
Absolutely.
in this area. Like, imagine what other breakthroughs are just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, scientists working in labs. It's about all of us asking questions, sharing information and supporting the search for answers.
This is where you come in.
Right.
What stands out to you about this research?
Yeah.
What are your, hopes or concerns?
Right.
Share your insights in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely.
We love hearing your thoughts and engaging in these conversations with you.
Your questions and perspectives help us, like, dive deeper into these topics and explore new avenues of thought.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, the dark side of microglia.
Right.
But let's not forget that these cells are actually, like, heroes
Yeah.
in the brain most of the time.
That's right. Under normal circumstances, they're essential for keeping our brains healthy and functioning properly.
So how do they go from being, like, these helpful guardians to these, like, destructive agents? Like, what's the tipping point?
That's a key question.
Yeah.
And one that, researchers are still trying to answer.
Right.
It seems that the accumulation of stress over time plays a major role.
So it's not just, like, one bad day that sends these microglia over the edge.
Right.
It's more like a chronic
It's like a chronic state of stress.
state of stress.
Exactly. It's like the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Each stressful event, whether it's exposure to toxins,
Right.
lack of sleep, or a poor diet,
Yeah.
it just adds to the burden on these microglia.
Right.
And eventually they reach a point where they can't cope anymore.
Wow.
And that's when they start to malfunction.
So it's almost like these microglia are trying to warn us,
Right.
like, hey, something's wrong here. You need to take care of your brain.
Right.
And if we don't listen,
Yeah.
they start taking, like, drastic measures.
It's a fascinating way to think about it.
Yeah.
And it really underscores the importance of taking, a holistic approach to brain health.
Okay.
It's not just about genetics or age.
Right.
It's about everything we do.
Right.
What we eat, how we manage stress,
Yeah.
the quality of our sleep, the environments we expose ourselves to.
This research is really empowering because it suggests that, like, we have more control over our brain health
Absolutely.
than we might think.
And that's a powerful message to share.
Speaking of sharing, if you're finding this conversation as, like, fascinating and hopeful as we are, don't forget to hit that like button.
Definitely.
It really helps us spread the word about this groundbreaking research.
Now, let's talk about what this research means for people living with Alzheimer's and their families right now.
I imagine this news must bring a lot of hope.
It certainly does. For years, we've been focused on, amyloid plaques in the brain as the main culprit in Alzheimer's.
Why?
And while those plaques are definitely part of the story, this research suggests that inflammation and cellular stress driven by microglia might be the real drivers of the disease.
So it's a completely different way of thinking about Alzheimer's.
Exactly. And it opens up a whole new avenue for treatment.
Instead of just trying to, like, clear out those amyloid plaques,
Right.
which has proven to be incredibly difficult.
Incredibly difficult, yeah.
We could potentially target these microglia directly.
That's right. And there are already a number of drugs in development that are designed to do just that.
So we could be on the cusp of, like, a new era of Alzheimer's treatment.
It's certainly possible.
Wow.
Of course, it's important to, temper our excitement with a healthy dose of caution.
Right.
There's still a lot of research that needs to be done before we can say for sure that these new treatments will be effective.
Right.
But the early results are very promising.
What would you say to someone living with Alzheimer's or caring for a loved one with the disease who's hearing this news for the first time?
I would say that this research offers real hope.
Okay.
It suggests that, we're on the right track, that we're finally starting to understand the complex mechanisms behind this devastating disease, and that knowledge is giving us the power to develop new and potentially more effective treatments.
Okay.
I would also say that it's important to, stay informed, to talk to your doctor about the latest research, and to participate in, clinical trials if you're eligible.
Right.
The more we learn about Alzheimer's, the closer we get to a cure.
That's a message of hope that I think, we all need to hear.
Absolutely. This research reminds us that even in the face of a disease as challenging as Alzheimer's, there is always reason to hope.
It's amazing to think that we might, like, actually be on the verge of a real breakthrough in Alzheimer's treatment.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time.
It is.
It's in the field for sure.
And it all comes back to this incredible discovery about microglia.
Right.
And the role they play in the disease.
It's funny how science works sometimes. Like, for years, we were so focused on those amyloid plaques, thinking that, they were the key to, unlocking the Alzheimer's puzzle.
Right.
But now this research on microglia is suggesting this whole new perspective.
It's like we were looking at the wrong piece of the puzzle all along.
Exactly. And this new piece, this understanding of microglia and the ISR pathway, it might just be like the missing link we've been searching for.
It's a reminder that science is a process of constant,
absolute
discovery.
Yeah.
And we should always be open to, new ideas and new ways of looking at things.
Absolutely. And who knows what other groundbreaking discoveries are just, around the corner.
Okay, so let's say scientists are able to develop, effective treatments that target these microglia and prevent them from causing damage.
Yeah.
What would that actually look like for people living with Alzheimer's?
Well, ideally, it would mean, slowing down or even halting the progression of the disease.
Okay.
Imagine being able to preserve cognitive function and maintain independence for much longer than is currently possible.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
It would give, people so much more time
Right.
with their loved ones and the ability to continue living fulfilling lives.
Exactly. And it wouldn't just benefit those already diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Okay.
If we can understand how to prevent these microglia from becoming toxic in the first place, we might be able to develop strategies to prevent the disease altogether.
So it's not just about treatment.
Right.
It's about prevention too.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where Alzheimer's is no longer, this looming threat.
Right.
But a manageable condition or even a preventable one.
That's a future worth striving for.
It is.
For sure.
And this research is bringing us one step closer to making that future a reality.
So before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
If targeting the ISR pathway can potentially reverse Alzheimer's-like symptoms in mice.
Right.
Could it also hold the key to treating other neurodegenerative diseases that, share similar cellular mechanisms?
That's a brilliant question, and one that researchers are actively exploring. Think about conditions like Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, or even ALS.
Wow.
Could this research pave the way for, new treatments for these devastating conditions as well?
It's an exciting possibility.
Yeah.
And a testament to the power of, scientific inquiry.
And it's a reminder that the journey of discovery never ends. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more hope to find.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of microglia and the future of Alzheimer's treatment, give us a like and subscribe to stay tuned for more fascinating conversations like this.
Absolutely.
And be sure to let us know your thoughts and questions in the comments below.
Until next time, stay curious and keep those brains engaged.